I chose to read homily number 2. The homily for Sunday, December 9th, 2012, is one that may sit in your thoughts for days to come. This week's readings and Gospels pose a question to all people, which is, are we ready or will we ever be ready for God's salvation? The first reading talks about how God will come back in His great power and great glory, with great mercy for the house of Israel, and that they shall not be forgotten, but led in joy by God. And I quote the first reading, "For God is leading Israel in joy by the light of His glory, with His mercy and justice for all company." The second reading makes a statement of prayer and hope, that since we are the people of God, we will continue to do the good deeds as God has created us to do until the second coming of Jesus. I am confident of this, that the one who began a good work in you will continue to complete it until the day of Christ Jesus. The Gospel speaks of an all being in earthly perfectness for God's second coming. It says that all unevenness of earth will be amended, and all people will see God in His great power and glory. And I quote the Gospel, "Every valley shall be filled, every mountain and hill from high shall be made low. The winding roads will be made straight, and the rough ways made smooth. And all flesh shall see the salvation of God." All these readings share a common theme of Jesus' second coming, and how all people will prepare for it. It is telling us that we need to ready our hearts, our minds, and, most importantly, our souls for God's second coming. Because this date is unknown, and if we are not ready, salvation is not possible. We must always do good deeds to others to prepare ourselves for God's second coming. The current event that I chose was a student raising money for victims of Hurricane Sandy. On this current topic of preparing for God's second coming, a student from New York raised a sufficient amount of money, all through his own will and hard work. He's preparing his heart and his soul for the second coming of God by being charitable and giving to those in need. He takes care of God's creatures, just as God has always wanted us to do. God did not create evil. We created evil through free will. God created us to do good in His other creatures, just as the student was doing. He assured that those victims would survive and get the financial they needed to get back on their feet and begin their new life once again.